Good morning, sixth graders. Welcome to Tuesday. You guys have seen this already. Again, you need your springboard book, a pencil, and something to write on like paper. If you don't have those things, you can push pause right now and go get them. All right, we are going to start off today with our book talk. Today's book talk is called Scar Island. Scar Island is a story about a boy named Jonathan who has done something really bad, although at first we don't know what. And so he gets sent to this island. It's kind of like a reform school for boys. And something happens in the story to where all the adults on the island are killed, and the boys have to run it themselves. So it's really a story about power, control, and bossiness, and what people will do that is really, really bad, and who can redeem themselves by showing that they really are a good person. There's lots of good parts to this book, lots of exciting parts. It's really, really interesting and kind of different. So if you are interested in reading Scar Island, send me an email. I will put it aside for you next time I go into Ike, which will be later this week. All right, that's that. We have a pretty busy day today, so I want to get started. In language arts today, we're going to be practicing the ACE writing strategy a little bit more. And we're going to be starting to read the circuit, which I introduced to you yesterday. We need to practice the ACE reading or writing strategy a little bit more. It's a way to answer questions. I've graded most of your assessments from last Friday, and we definitely still need to do some work. So we'll get there. Oh my goodness, it keeps jumping around. Okay, so we're just going to start reading the story. Today, we're going to answer 2 questions. I'm going to kind of show you how to answer one. We're going to practice it again so that you can be even more successful on Friday's assessment. All right, and then this week, like I told you, in Individuals in Society, otherwise known as Social Studies, we're going to be doing a lot of our digital citizenship, and we are going to be talking today about chatting safely online. In your planner, there's this link here. There is a video, and as you guys know, I've had some audio issues when I'm trying to share my screen, although I'm not sharing my screen right now, so actually it might work, so we might go ahead and do that. But this is here if you want to refer back to it at any time, okay? So right now, we are going to read the circuit. So how I'm going to do this is I am going to read it aloud. While I'm reading, you guys are welcome to follow along. If you want to read without me reading, you can push pause on this or fast forward it or whatever, and that way you don't have to listen to my reading. Okay, I find that it is helpful for a lot of kids to listen as well as read along. So I want you to at least do that. I don't really want anyone just listening. So please have out your book. We are on page, I don't know what page this is in your book. Okay, I just have my teacher's edition. So I'm actually not sure, sorry. But it's the circuit, it's towards the beginning. It's activity 12. Yesterday we talked a little bit about narrative and things like that. And this is a narrative. It's a personal narrative. So it's based on one person's experience. I think this might be considered page 6. Okay, because it says that here, but I'm not positive. But it is called The Circuit. So if you need to find it in your book, you can go ahead and push pause on me for a moment. Okay, I'm going to start reading about the author. As I told you before, I've met the author's nephew, which was interesting, and then I will go into the story. We're going to read about half of it today. So, about the author. Francisco Jimenez was born in Teotihuacan, Mexico, and sorry if I mispronounced that, and grew up in a family of migrant workers in California. He spent much of his childhood moving around California with no permanent home and regular schooling. Yet, despite incredible odds, he went on to have a distinguished academic career. A graduate of Santa Clara University, he also attended Harvard University and received a master's degree and a PhD from Columbia University. A longtime writer of academic works for adults, Jimenez's entry into writing for young people came through an award-winning short story, The Circuit, based on his childhood. The Circuit by Francisco Jimenez. It was that time of year again. Ito, the strawberry sharecropper, did not smile. It was natural. The peak of the strawberry season was over, and the last few days the workers, most of them braceros, were not picking as many boxes as they had during the months of June and July. As the last days of August disappeared, so did the number of braceros. Sunday, only one, the best picker, came to work. I liked him. Sometimes we talked during our half-hour lunch break. That is how I found out he was from Jalisco, the same state in Mexico my family was from. That Sunday was the last time I saw him. When the sun had tired and sunk behind the mountains, Ito signaled to us it was time to go home. Ya es hora, he yelled in his broken Spanish. Those were the words I waited for 12 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week, week after week, and the thought of not hearing them again saddened me. As we drove home, Papa did not say a word. With both hands on the wheel, he stared at the dirt road. My older brother, Roberto, was also silent. He leaned his head back and closed his eyes. Once in a while, he cleared his throat from the dust that blew in from the outside. Yes, it was that time of year. When I opened the front door to the shack, I stopped. Everything we owned was neatly packed in cardboard boxes. Suddenly, I felt even more the weight of hours, days, weeks, and months of work. I sat down on a box. The thought of having to move to Fresno and knowing what was in store for me there brought tears to my eyes. That night, I could not sleep. I lay in bed thinking about how much I hated this move. A little before 5 o'clock in the morning, Papa woke everybody up. A few minutes later, the yelling and screaming of my little brothers and sisters, for whom the move was a great adventure, broke the silence of dawn. Shortly, the barking of the dogs accompanied them. While we packed the breakfast dishes, Papa went outside to start the carachita. That was the name Papa had given his old 38 black Plymouth. He bought it in the used car lot in Santa Rosa in the winter of 1949. Papa was very proud of his little jalopy. He had a right to be proud of it. He spent a lot of time looking at other cars before buying this one. When he finally chose the carachita, he checked it thoroughly before driving it out of the car lot. He examined every inch of the car. He listened to the motor, tilting his head from side to side like a parrot, trying to detect any noises that spelled car trouble. After being satisfied with the looks and sounds of the car, Papa then insisted on knowing who the original owner was. He never did find out from the car salesman, but he bought the car anyway. Papa figured the original owner must have been an important man, because behind the rear seat of the car, he found a blue necktie. Papa parked the car out in front and left the motor running. Listo, he yelled. Without saying a word, Roberto and I began to carry the boxes out to the car. Roberto carried the 2 big boxes, and I carried the 2 smaller ones. Papa then threw the mattress on top of the car roof and tied it with ropes to the front and rear bumpers. Everything was packed except Mama's pot. It was an old galvanized pot she had picked up at an Army surplus store in Santa Maria before I was born. The pot had many dents and nicks, and the more dents and nicks it acquired, the more Mama liked it. Miola, she used to say proudly. I held the front door open as Mama carefully carried out her pot by both handles, making sure not to spill the cooked beans. When she got to the car, Papa reached out to help her with it. Roberto opened the rear car door, and Papa gently placed it on the floor beside the front seat. All of us then climbed in. Papa sighed, wiped the sweat off his forehead with his sleeve, and said wearily, "Es todo." As we drove away, I felt a lump in my throat. I turned around and looked at our little shack for the last time. At sunset, we drove into a labor camp near Fresno. Since Papa did not speak English, Mama asked the camp foreman if he needed any more workers. "We don't need no more," said the foreman, scratching his head. "Check with Sullivan down the road. Can't miss him. He lives in a big white house with a fence around it." When we got there, Mama walked up to the door. She went through a white gate, past a row of rose bushes, up the stairs to the front door. She rang the doorbell. The porch light went on, and a tall, husky man came out. They exchanged a few words. After the man went in, Mama clasped her hands and hurried back to the car. We have work. Mr. Sullivan says we can stay there the whole season, she says, gasping and pointing to an old garage near the stables. The garage was worn out by the years. It had no windows. The walls, eaten by termites, strained to support the roof full of holes. The dirt floor, populated by earthworms, looked like a gray road map. That night, by the light of a kerosene lamp, we unpacked and cleaned our new home. Roberto swept away the loose dirt, leaving the hard ground. Papa plugged the holes in the walls with newspaper and tin can tops. Mama fed my little brothers and sisters. Papa and Roberto then brought in the mattress and placed it on the far corner of the garage. Mama, you and the little one sleep on the mattress. Roberto, Panchito, and I will sleep outside under the trees, Papa said. Early the next morning, Mr. Sullivan showed us where his crop was, and after breakfast, Papa, Roberto, and I headed for the vineyard to pick. Around 9 o'clock, the temperature had risen to almost 100 degrees. I was completely soaked in sweat, and my mouth felt as though it had been chewing on a handkerchief. I walked over to the end of the row, picked up the jug of water we had brought, and began drinking. Don't drink too much, you'll get sick, Roberto shouted. No sooner had he said it than I felt sick to my stomach. I dropped to my knees and let the jug roll off my hands. I remained motionless with my eyes glued on the hot, sandy ground. All I could hear was the drone of insects. Slowly, I began to recover. I poured water over my face and neck and watched the dirty water run down my arms to the ground. All right, so that is what we are reading today. We are now going to answer 2 questions. So again, we're using the ACE method. Really, there are 3 parts. Right here, you're just answering the question. And I'm going to make this super easy for you guys. Just answer the question in 1 sentence, in a complete sentence. Then you're going to cite evidence. You're going to say something like, according to the text. That's one that I use a lot. It's easy. For example is another one, or the author stated. Okay? And then, so that will be 1 sentence too. And then you are going to elaborate on your answer. And that's where you just kind of explain it. And so something like the evidence shows, that's one that I like a lot. Or you could even say the text shows. You don't have to use the word evidence. Okay, so this first question right here, I'm just going to kind of go over it with you and just show what you might write. Something like that. Okay, adjust this, sorry. Okay. My keyboard needs to connect, sorry. Okay, so it says reread the opening paragraphs. What kind of work do the narrator and his family do? So that's the question, okay? So the kind of work, so we can say the narrator and his family are migrant farm workers. Okay, I answered the question in a complete sentence. That is done for you, okay? And then cite details from the story. Now, the important part here is according to the text. That's my sentence starter. Then I always have a comma, and then I always have quotation marks. And I'm not going to cite the text for you. You guys can do that on your own, okay? Okay, so we'll do that. And then it'll be a period and end of quotations at the end of the text. Then you can say something along, this shows that, okay, and you'll complete that sentence, okay? So the first sentence, you're answering in a complete sentence. The next part, you're citing the text. And then the second part, or the third part, you're writing how your evidence, or how the evidence from the text supports your answer. Okay, so there's at least 3 sentences when you answer a question using the ACE method. Okay, so that's that. And then you have this one here too. So you're going to want to write those two answers on a piece of paper, and then we will discuss them in class tomorrow. Okay? So that's that. We are now going to switch over to social studies. So if you want to push pause on this video and take a little stretch break, get a drink of water, whatever you need to do, go ahead and do that. So push pause, please, and take a little break. All right, back to social studies. So now we are going to be talking about chatting safely online. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly just because you also have access to it in your weekly planner. So if you want to go back and look at something, you can. But language arts was already really long today. I don't want to keep you super long here either. So the essential question, how do you chat safely with people you meet online? Because as you guys know, we don't already always know who's on the other computer that we're chatting with. So our learning objectives. We want to analyze how well we know the people we interact with online, reflect on what information is safe to share with different types of online friends, and we're going to learn to recognize red flag feelings and use the feelings and options thinking route to respond to them. Okay, so this video I will go ahead and play for you. It's going to play for you.
There are a lot of people out there who aren't who they say they are, in small ways and big ways.
I think it is totally fine for someone to become friends with someone online, but you have to be very, very careful.
You know, they're thinking over their texts and their pictures could be fake.
On social media, you can talk to people, but like you can't really get your emotion across.
Talking to strangers online, it's 50-50.
Some of the benefits of online relationships, it's definitely easier to interact and talk to people because you're thinking about what you're saying and you just are more comfortable. Right. So some of the greatest parts about having a friendship with someone online is that they're easily accessible. You can just text them, be like, hey, what's up? You can have that sort of immediate connection all the time.
If you are in a smaller community, becoming friends with someone online allows you to become friends with someone who has a similar interests as you, and you can have a really good friendship with someone. I really do enjoy playing video games. Connecting with other people, whether they're strangers or if I'm playing with my friends and talking to them and doing something together. I think that that's really fun, that we can all enjoy the same thing.
You don't feel like you actually have to deal with this person. So if they don't like what you're saying, they can leave. If you don't like what they're saying, you can leave. Sometimes having conversations can just be they can make you sort of anxious. When you're online, you're behind the screen. It'll make it easier for them to say things that they want to say, but they might not say in real life. There is a very significant difference between a real friendship and an online friendship. That's not to say that your online friendships aren't real. It's just that they're different.
There's something called IBF, so internet best friends, and basically they text and they become best friends, but they haven't met them in real life.
I felt a lot of genuine trust between the people that I talked to online because they were really close friends of my close friends. It's just, I think trust is the main thing.
So I have become friends with people who are friends of friends, or I know through other people. I'll add them on, Instagram or Snapchat, whatever it is I'm using. And maybe I'll just say hi or just start a conversation. There's things that you can tell people online that you can't tell people in real life. At the same time, you have to know how to be safe, right?
I would say I'm more comfortable talking face to face because like on social media, you can talk to people, but like it's hard to like communicate like a sense of realness and like emotions.
If the person is a total stranger to you, they may have an alternative motive trying to get other information out of you.
They might be pretending to be somebody that they're not. They might be using you for something.
Like, please don't tell people online your full name or where you live.
You don't actually know who they really are, and you need to be sure that they're okay.
I think a lot of people assume that because you have a friend online and they're kind of not always in your day-to-day, you can choose and edit what you say to them, that it's always going to be good, but it's still a relationship. It's still two people, and you're giving them a lot of information about yourself.
All right. Okay, so risky, when we hear that word, it means potentially harmful to one's emotional or physical well-being. Private information, these are just some words that we need to know, is information about you that is used to identify you because it is unique to you, like your full name or your address. So for example, Sarah's soccer coach connected her with Asil, a player he coached from a nearby town. Sarah and Asil both played goalie and have other common interests like playing in band. They have been chatting off and on for about a month through social media messenger app. They talked about games and problems they are having at school with friends. They have shared when and where they will be playing soccer. They have also told each other their team names, logos, and favorite soccer fields in the area. Last week, Asil sent her some memes of soccer players that included some bad language and inappropriate images. Asil mentioned that she should probably make sure her parents don't see it. Sarah loves taking pictures and posting them to Instagram. A few months ago, she noticed Alex East West 13 liked several of her photos and commented, "You are so talented." Sarah was flattered. Then she received a private message from Alex East West 13 asking if she was a professional photographer or if she wanted to be one someday. Sarah responded that it was her dream to be one when she grew up. Now they talk a lot through private messaging. Sarah also posts comments on Alex East West 13's photos, which are mostly of random objects and nature scenes. Last week, Alex East West 13 asked if she would post more selfies because I think you are beautiful. Alex East West 13 also messaged her a cell number so she could send more personal pictures. "Just don't tell anyone I gave you this," Alex East West 13 commented. Inappropriate. Not acceptable in the situation. Not okay. Red flag feeling. When something happens that makes you feel uncomfortable, worried, sad, or anxious. Feelings and options. You need to identify who are the different people involved in the scenario. What dilemma or challenge are they facing? Feel. What do you think Sarah is feeling? Why might the situation be hard or challenging for her? Imagine. Imagine options for how the situation could be handled. Come up with as many ideas as possible. Then choose which option might lead to the most positive outcome. Say. Thinking more about the idea you chose for handling the situation, what could Sarah do or say? Be as specific as possible. What should Sarah say? And maybe take a moment to write down what she should say. So, ways to respond. Change the subject, make a joke, or say, "I don't want to talk about this." Log off or quit. Unfriend the person or block them, create a new account, or report the other user. Okay, and that probably depends on the degree of their inappropriateness. Never plan a face-to-face meeting with someone you do not know unless you take along a parent or guardian. Ask a trusted adult for advice or help if you feel unsure or uncomfortable in any situation. Okay, and then wrapping it up, think about how you will use what you learned today in your own friendships online. If you could give Sarah one piece of advice for her online friendships, what would it be? We know the power of words and actions. And I'm going to throw in my little 2 cents worth as a parent and a teacher. If someone ever asks you not to share things with your parents, it's probably not someone you should trust. Okay? Whatever is written down in social media, online, in real life, you need to remember that it can be shared anywhere and anyhow. So if people are asking you not to share it, it's probably not appropriate. All right. So that is the very quick version of chatting safely online. So please review it if you want to. If there's parts you don't understand, this is always a good thing to talk about with your parents too. Okay? Have an amazing day, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.